everyone, and welcome to the Art of Leading, captivating leadership narratives, all part of the stuff that growth is made of. I'm excited to introduce you to Matt Gantner. Matt is the CEO and founder of Altum Strategy Group and a member of my Vistage CEO Peer Advisory Group. Hello, Matt, and welcome.
Hey, Margaret, how are you? And thanks for having
Good.
me.
I'm so glad to be talking with you today. I'm excited for the listeners to have the opportunity to hear from you. Would love just to start the discussion by having you share an overview of what services does Altum Strategy Group provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So Altum is an advisory services firm that focuses on what we call the three R's around revenue, risk management, and generating greater return on investment. We deliver on that by using our proprietary delivery methodology, which we call the Altum Wave. And that allows us to enable companies through strategic growth and digital transformation, intelligence, data and technology, operational excellence, and resilience, risk, and governance.
And Matt, why did you start Altum? You have a Big Four background. What gap did were you noticing that your clients were experiencing that you were trying to fill?
Yeah, the driver for starting Altum was that as kind of I've gone through my career, it's been really hard for larger firms to kind of support the mid-market segment really well. And it's largely because of rate pressure and a number of different factors. But ultimately, what I really saw that a large portion of business in the United States and globally is really in that small to mid-sized business arena. And there's a need for a advisory services firm to come in and help them where they are in their journey to really grow to become where they'd like to be over, 3, 5, 10 year plus type of horizon.
Good. And Altum is an unusual name. And of course, love the wave behind you. Where did the name come from?
Yeah, so Altum was really a collaboration with my wife. So I love the ocean and I've been an athlete for a long time. So there's a certain rhythm to the way I approach my life, the way I approach business, and ultimately my favorite place in the world is the ocean. So when you take tide and translate that to Latin, it becomes ultim or deep, which allows us to really help clients manage through the ebbs and flows of today's business and overall economic environment.
I love that. And every time I talk to you, with that background, it's very calming. It's a very calming background. Mine's probably not, but yours is very calming.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So one more question before we get into your leadership journey, just a little bit more about your company. So you mentioned that the mid-market is your target population. Is there certain sectors or industries that you are focused on?
Yeah, we really focus on kind of technology as an industry vertical. Again, that's really more around SaaS and kind of building products. We also focus on restaurant, retail, hospitality, manufacturing, life sciences, and then financial services. And our financial service industry includes private equity, VC, and the traditional banks.
Great. Well, good. Well, thank you for the overview. So people know kind of just your background in terms as we start our discussion about your leadership journey. So would love for you to share a little bit about your career journey, which led you to your current position today.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I joined PwC right as they were coming out of the sell-off of the management consulting services business to IBM, and was fortunate enough to help them rebuild practices as they were coming out of that non-compete, and was really influenced early on by a number of leaders that really instilled in me kind of what it means to build something from scratch and really work hard to kind of achieve that market momentum to really build something great. So after a period of time with PwC, I jumped out to a mid-market firm and was able to join them kind of right before a private equity transaction. So it was fun to kind of go through that private equity transaction roller coaster ride at times with that firm. Ultimately became a partner there and helped grow that firm. And then ultimately that led to a successful acquisition. And as they were transitioning to be more of a software reseller, I wanted to step out and then really focus on professional services. And in 2019, I jumped out to found Altum Strategy Group. And it's been a lot of fun and certainly challenges since then.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. So if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say to my younger self, you know, definitely give it a go, right? Like I think early on, folks struggle with stepping out and starting the entrepreneurial journey because they second guess, can I do this? Can I not do this? What do I need? I think that what I've learned is that the foundation that I was able to build early on in my career certainly set me up for success today and will likely for the future. And I think it's important to make sure that you get that foundation of success and then know kind of where your blind spots are and where do you need that support and really focus in on the areas that you're really, really good at.
I know that you were a competitive rower. You trained for the Olympics, which is really cool. What skills from competitive sports translates into your leadership style?
Consistency, right? Waking up and knowing that there's a certain thing you need to do or things you need to do every day to really make sure that you're building towards your goal, right? And that's applicable in sports. You got to train, you got to weight lift, you got to get up, get in the boat, right? Or on a bike or whatever it is. Same with business. You have to get up, you have to get through emails, you got to figure out your BD strategy, you got to execute your BD strategy, you got to bring the right people in, and you got to deliver consistently to your clients, and then basically repeat.
Consistency. And I would say that goes into that accountability because you were so diligent, or I guess consistent is the right word, just in terms of your own training and your own focus. You're just a very focused person. So I know every time we talk, when you talk about something, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know he's going to get that done. No one has to hold him accountable because he's very focused on that, which is really great.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, that's definitely those two things go hand in hand, right? You have to be consistent, but you have to be accountable. And I grew up, you know, where my father instilled in me and my brother, your word is your bond. So if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it, right? And if you don't do it, then you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why didn't I do it? Or have that hard conversation with not only yourself, but with others. So consistency and accountability definitely go hand in hand. And I wouldn't be where I am today, without those two as really foundational elements, not only for me as a person, but also for me as a leader.
Yeah, I love that. I wrote that down. Your word is your bond. It's great advice. What were some of the challenges, Matt, that you faced earlier in some of the leadership roles you held?
I think it's been a journey, right? Like it's been a journey. You only know what you know at a point in time, and you seek to learn from others around you. And I think for me, if I go back to the early days where I was stepping into some leadership roles as like a team lead, right? I had to learn a lot because the transition from knowing everything about a specific area and doing it versus training people to do that and teaching and enabling them, that's a certain point of transition, and there's complexity with that, right? Then when you go from that to leading a matrixed delivery model across multiple projects, keeping up with people's schedules and availability and just understanding because people are people, right? Everybody's got things that they're dealing with outside of work. So how are those things impacting what's going on within their day to day? And then making sure there's empathy so that you can understand what people are going through, put yourself in their shoes, and then ultimately lead through kind of whatever challenges those things may cause. And I think ultimately moving to leading a company where I had to put it all together, right? Where it's the financial discipline, it's the team lead, it's the culture building. Each one of those things was each one of those areas I just went through was a different set of challenges to allow me to kind of become the best leader that I am today. And I still have a lot to learn, right? But to become who I am today, and now it's setting me up for ongoing learning, ongoing refinement of my leadership style, how I approach clients, internal folks, the market, etc.
Yeah, I think the word you use, journey, is so important because um, we all have journeys as a leader. your company is going through journey. A startup is very different than, once you've proved your concept, now scaling up. So it is interesting, and all that does affect how you lead, and it really does go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So when you look at today, what would you say your biggest challenge and opportunities are right now?
Yeah, I think the challenge right now is just something we're all facing, right? Is the overall economy and how do we navigate through that? I think that with that, there's also a lot of opportunity, right? The opportunity is how does the market message of Altum kind of cut through the noise, right? How do we stay competitive against, the big guys, the small guys, and everyone in between, to really make sure that we're able to get out to our clients to ultimately help them, right? Because that's really the goal: is how can we get in front of more people that need our help, that we can help scale through economic uncertainty, through internal challenges, whatever it may be. So that's really the opportunity: is how do we get through that noise to get in front of the most people to create the most value for companies.
Makes sense. So as you look at as a leader, leading a company, how do you measure success?
Yeah, so success for me is measured in a number of different ways, right? There's certainly the easy one is all the financial metrics, right? Where are we in terms of revenue? Where are we against plan? Those types of standard, I'll call them the dashboard KPIs that we all look at. I think the other way I certainly measure success is how are my people doing, right? In the age of being remote and hybrid in certain instances, there's a bit of a disconnect between the human element from via Zoom or Teams or whatever the platform is to get in touch with folks. So how do you manage through making sure that one, they're delivering on consistency and accountability for the team, but number two, how are they doing as individual humans and as a collective team of people? So, really focused on getting that team and the culture right is a big measure of success for me, and seeing everybody come together in a unified way is really meaningful. When it comes to our clients, it's really making sure that our clients are achieving their objectives and ultimately the value that we're able to create in collaboration with them to allow them to unlock growth, unlock data, unlock systems, to allow them to then meaningfully move forward in their respective journeys. So it's really looking at it through the lenses of both what does internal success look like versus what does success with our client partners really look like.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great perspective. So changing topics a little bit, I know you have a thirst for learning and challenging yourself. What are you reading or listening to right now?
So what am I reading right now? I am reading right now. I just finished actually My Share of the Task by General Stanley McChrystal. And it's really about his leadership journey as he kind of went through his career in the military, and some of the key learnings that he pulled out from his career from other leaders. And he synthesized that all down into his perspective on what it takes to lead and what are the traits and attributes that leaders need to really lead in today's and really looking forward kind of economy, but also just geopolitical stage, if you will.
It's so interesting. I am taking a class. I know we had a speaker, Cujo, right, in January. So I'm taking his class right now. So it is so interesting, and he has he was a fighter, right? Like a Blue Angel or whatever, the Top Gun fighter. So it is so interesting learning from, whether the book or from his class, just about, there are some really great lessons from the military from a leadership perspective. That you can glean in everyday life and business. So that's interesting that you're reading that, because I'm really enjoying this class I'm taking with him right now as well.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed Cujo's presentation and some of the materials he shared with us. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, and what would you say your favorite? I mean, we've read a lot of books recently as a group as well. What would you say your favorite leadership book is, and why?
I would say probably the book that I enjoyed most from our group was Great CEOs Are Lazy. And really, I think the one the one thing that always resonates with me every day is like, where's the kink, right? Because in the book they talk about CEOs need to focus on identifying what the kink in the hose is, if you will. If you think about a water hose, where's the kink in the line? What do I need to correct? And then understand what it is, correct the problem, but then build the systems and the processes around that so the kink doesn't happen again. So that way he or she can hand that off to someone that's now accountable for the making sure that doesn't kink again, and then kind of running with that piece, and then allowing the CEO to look for other areas in the business that have inefficiencies or kinks, and then figuring out how to um, make that more efficient and basically remove the kink in the line.
Yeah. I would say that's actually could be my favorite leadership book too. I thought that was really first of all easy to read, a really and not like a oh, it's almost like a handbook, right? I mean, it really gave you very specific ideas, which I really liked as well, that you could take away and do something. But well, thank you for sharing that. So just one last question. What would you say are some of the critical success factors, or what I would call secret sauce, about being an effective leader today?
I think it's understanding what you're good at, and then making sure that you understand what you're not good at, and finding the right people that can support you as a leader. And I would say probably to piggyback on that, it's also delegate, right? I think too often, and from my own personal experience, I need to hold on to too much, and I've really forced myself to delegate, right? So if there's things that are on my desk that either shouldn't be completely, or you know what, I need somebody else to take a pass at it before I look at it, that delegation approach has really become really effective and really crucial to my success as a leader. And then making sure I'm partnered with the right folks to back me up, whether it's in HR, whether it's in legal, whether it's in finance, has also allowed me to really focus on, again, the kink in the business, and really trust that those other areas are working well, and that I have the visibility that I need to make decisions in other areas of the business effectively.
Delegating, it's so interesting when we talk about the journey. Delegating is really hard, especially when you go from a startup where you have to be so hands-on, and then you start moving around that maturity cycle to scale up. It's really hard to let go or find the right people to delegate to. So that is something that I know a lot of CEOs and business owners struggle with. And you are such a thoughtful leader. And I know culture and all the things you talked about today is really important to you, and something that you really do, live and really strive for. So I'm glad that the listeners had a chance to hear a little bit from you, and I want to thank you for sharing your thoughtful insights around the art of learning. And thank you all for listening. This is the stuff that growth is made of. Bye for now.